Hello class! Today we've got a special lesson for you. We're going to look at Transformers Prime Bumblebee. But not just any Bumblebee, first edition Bumblebee. That's excellent. So these are the ones that you see at Toys R Us. There's 18, 24, 96 pegs of Bumblebee and then like, 2 Starscreams or something. But at any rate, we're going to look at him. We can see him there in the packaging, looking all cool in his sort of vehicle car, Earth car mode. I don't know what car he's supposed to be. I know it's supposed to be similar to the movie, but I don't think there's supposed to be exactly any particular car, I think. There we can see his hand-mounted blaster. Actually, there's probably 2 in there. Or, well, I see at least 1. Anyways. What else have we got here? 001. I don't know if these are in any particular order or not, and I haven't really paid any attention. Maybe they are. And I could look, but I'm not gonna. On the back of the packaging, we can see the rest of the Autobots, or most of the Autobots. There's no Bulkhead or Wheeljack. Oh, wait, sorry. I lied. There's Bulkhead. So there's no Wheeljack on here, but he wasn't part of the first episode. That's why he's not in there. What else do we have here? We can see Bumblebee. We're just going to grab the camera like this. In his vehicle mode, so we're hoping that's more or less what he's going to look like when we transform him. There we've got the car, and from this series we can also get RC and Starscream. It's interesting though, also in this series there is Cliffjumper, but they don't show him on the back of the packaging here. I don't quite get it. It's a level 2, I guess in terms of difficulty. It's intermediate. We'll see how that goes. Bumblebee is an Autobot, which is excellent because I don't remember him being a Decepticon, but apparently Wheeljack has been a Decepticon, which someone was nice enough to tell me, and that's good. But the show that that happened in sucked, so it doesn't count. At any rate, we'll keep going. With display stand, I'm not going to rant too much about that right now because we've spoken about that before. I'll rant about that later. And there we go. I think, if we can get in focus here, that is our in-package look at Bumblebee from Transformers Prime, first edition. So we'll be back in a second and we'll rip this thing out of the packaging. Alright, here's Bumblebee in his vehicle mode. I guess it's supposed to be similar to a Camaro like from the Bayformers movies. Obviously not quite the same. I think he's described as a custom race car, hot rod muscle car in the show, because they're not going to use exactly the models of cars. Like, I think they pretty much did in G1 though, but at any rate. Here we have Bumblebee. We can see a nice big Autobot emblem there, just in case we weren't sure. Now, I have been told that Wheeljack apparently was a Decepticon in a different show, because he was just being an emo bitch. But I think if Bumblebee ever became a Decepticon legitimately, it would be a travesty, and I don't think that's going to happen. So we should just know that Bumblebee is an Autobot. Having said that, some douchebag writer is probably going to make him a Decepticon just to piss me off. At any rate. Vehicle rolls, which is nice. He's the bright yellow, which we'd expect from Bumblebee. We wouldn't really want him, a bit fell off, in any other color. You can see some of the colors. We've got the red for the lights here. I wonder if Repro Labels will make a sticker set, because that would be nice. Anyways, we've got kind of the black racing stripes, which is nice, and the translucent windshield, so we can see bits of his, I think there are his arms in there. And actually, I like the fact that his headlights up here are translucent blue, which is nice too. It makes them almost look like they're shining. And the car does roll. It's got some decent rims, which is good. And there we can see the robot bits underneath, which seems to be typical of just about any Transformer that turns into a car of some kind. We can see the robot bits underneath. At any rate, we're going to try transforming this, and it's going to be tough because I'm still just a little bit tipsy from the RC lesson. And this figure, for a deluxe class figure, I found, especially the first time through, was relatively difficult to transform. So we'll see what we can do here. We're going to start again by just separating the legs, which seems to be the way I start most of these things. We're going to fold these down. There's one particular part that's difficult with this figure, and I'll make a point of mentioning it when I get there. So we can fold down his legs, and there we've got his feet. And we can do the same thing with this side here. And actually, one of the things that's interesting to me, because I get interested by these things, is, and I always thought it was weird, on the show, he's got the big metal spikes on his knees, and a number of the Transformers do. They have these crazy-ass knee spike things. And I was thinking, how are they going to put that in a transformation? And then they showed me. They just really are of no consequence when they're producing the figure. But basically, that's it for the lower half. For some reason, getting the legs is always pretty simple. It's the back end and you just flip them down. Although you can imagine, why don't they knee people? This is a weapon. Knee the guy in the junks and watch him fall down. Like, seriously. Anyways, do robots have junks? Reproductive bits? I don't know. Anyways, back on topic. We're going to pull apart the front of the car. I'm sure that's not how the instructions tell me to do it, but I don't care. Instructions are for sissies. I'm going to pull down the doors. Now, actually, the doors, the part of the hood comes with it, and one thing I always forget to do is you have to flip those down. So once we do that, we're good. And we're going to pull the arms down. I'm probably not doing this right. I know I'm missing a step in here somewhere. Oh, the windshield. Oh, there we go. We got to pull the torso down. A little less organized right now. We're going to pull the arms down. There we go. Pull the arms down. Some of it Hasbro's going, oh my god, what is he doing to this thing? Although I'm probably transforming it still better than those people at Hasbro. You would think the people at Hasbro, when they show figures, that they have the promotional things, and when they go to cons and stuff, would learn how to transform the goddamn figures. But you would think wrong. They don't. Anyways, we're going to fold this top piece down. There we go. And there's one little bit in here, and it took me a little bit of time to figure this out. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show it on the camera. No, maybe I can. This top piece here, you can see the little groove in there. There's a little peg on the inside that we have to latch this onto, and it took me quite a while to figure that out the first time through. And again, because I didn't look at the instructions, and I would have never guessed to do that on my own. Whoops. Knocking over the camera isn't going to help us too much either. Let's see if we can do this. Oh my goodness, Evil Professor, usually so much better. Yeah, but usually, there we go. Evil Professor hasn't had a vodka. Anyways, let's put that back there. Fold that up. Now, here's the part that's tough. Actually, I've made the whole thing look tough. Under normal circumstances, I don't think the figure is actually, most of it's really that tough to transform. But anyways, I don't know how we can see it there. And maybe we'll have to try to get an image with my macro lens. Well, maybe we won't have to. If you see there, we have the gray piece and that peg. You see how there's that little white bit there and there isn't on the other side? Getting the tops of his shoulders onto those pegs I found incredibly difficult. Especially the first time through when I was reefing it on there, which you're not supposed to do with Transformers. If you have to use excessive force, chances are you're doing it wrong. But I could not get the shoulders to stay in place. And I still have a little bit of difficulty with it. But basically you have to lift the top of the car piece and just kind of set it in there, and it acts as kind of like a hook to hold the top part of his shoulder in place. And I think this has been weakened. I think that white point is the plastic being bent a little bit. It looks still straight, but it looks like it's weakened, so chances are I'm going to bust this at some point, which would kind of be a shame. I don't really want to break this figure, but one of these times I'm probably going to end up doing that. So you have to be a little bit gentle when you're putting his shoulders in place, which is mildly annoying. Anyways, we can take these shoulder guards and put them over the wheels, which I have to admit, when I was watching this show, I was thinking, how the hell are they going to get that shoulder guard over his wheel? And now I know. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Whoops. And then there we can see his Autobot emblem still, which is nice. And the way my light is picking up his eyes is excellent. We can see how brightly lit they are, which is excellent. We can fold out the doors to look kind of like the wings that he seems to have a lot of the time now. This one chest piece, though, I don't know if it's supposed to just sit in place or if it I find mine is a little bit loose and it does tend to fall down a little bit. But I haven't found a peg or something that I can just stick it to. So I don't know if it's supposed to or not, or if it's always going to kind of flop down a little bit, which would be disappointing. But there we have Bumblebee. I think we've more or less gotten him in his robot form. We can see the doors are a little bit loose here. They kind of flap around a little bit, which is too bad. But there we have him. In terms of his color scheme, you know what? It's more or less, I think, what we'd expect from the show. I think his head is supposed to have a few more details, a few more black bits on it. But for the most part, it's not too bad. Again, the translucent plastic along the back, we get the bright blue eyes, which is nice. He looks almost innocent there, which is kind of too bad. Well, he has that kind of... Bumblebee does that puppy dog look a lot. And quite frankly, it does get a little tiresome. But anyways, although someone was complaining, one of my buddies was complaining that all the Autobots are badass in Transformers Prime. And I'm thinking, is that really a complaint? Do you want a Transformer, like an Autobot that sucks? Like Gears, or Huffer, or... who else sucked from G1?
Cup?
Cup? The evil wife just said Cup. Besides having a stupid name, and if you ever read the comics, Cup kicked all kinds of ass. He's a grumpy old curmudgeon, and I thought Cup was awesome. I probably didn't like him as a kid. I'm like, who's that old geezer? Cup was awesome and would rip Bumblebee's face off. Anyways, no, not Cup. Let's say, no, I liked Sea Spray. Let's say Power Glide. I never liked Power Glide too much either. Anyways, I think it's good that our Transformers are badass. I mean, let's face it, there's 5 of them, and they're outnumbered like 10 to 1. They all have to be badass, or they'd be annihilated like that little bastard Cliff Jumper. Anyways, yeah, I know, I probably just pissed some people off. But you know what? Cliff Jumper got scrapped, which means he's weak. Anyways, again, the rest of the colors, we got some gray, we've got some of the yellow. Obviously, again, a Bumblebee that's not yellow just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But his color scheme is pretty close. It's not too bad. I do like it. In terms of his articulation, again, the head's on a ball joint, so we can rotate it all the way around. We can go up and down a little bit so he can rock, because he does that sometimes. The shoulders are on a joint. We can move them around a fair bit. We can go up and down. We're going to have a hard time rotating them all the way around. And it's just, I think, part of his transformation, which makes it difficult. They're not, strictly speaking, on a ball joint. There's a joint here that moves them up and down, and then there's a separate joint that goes forward and back. So we don't quite have the same articulation we do with some other figures. The arm is going to rotate all the way around, because it's on a ball joint, and it can go back and forth as well, and the wrist does go forward and back. It would have been nice if they added a ball joint in here. But that's okay. The waist, we can rotate all the way around, which is excellent. There's a little bit of backwards and forwards here. I think that's part of his transformation, and I don't know if he's really supposed to do that. Oh, and one thing I forgot. This part for the front of the car, the headlight, and then this bottom part, we're supposed to be able to open that up a little bit. But honestly, I've never been able to do it in a meaningful way. And thus, I gave up, because I didn't care. Or I saw something on TV and got distracted. At any rate, where was I? Oh, his hips, his hips are on a ball joint, so we can go forwards and back. We can go out to the side a little bit. He's not much of a jump kicker kind of guy. We can rotate the thigh all the way around. We can bend at the knee, which is nice. And the foot does move a little bit forwards and back, and we can see we've got the back of his foot there, but the ankle doesn't move independently on its own, which is kind of too bad. Now, the one bit that fell off of him, and it was attached at one time, if you see that one bit there in the front, it keeps falling down. And I don't know if that's supposed to attach in some way, but I don't think I'm going to make it, which is kind of disappointing. Anyways, the one bit that fell off, if you watch the show, which you should, honestly, it's the best Transformer show in a very long time. At least since Beast Wars, and probably since even G1. Anyways, we've got his hand blaster here, his arm-mounted gun, and what we can do is we can see the little hole there, and there's a little peg, and so what we can do is we can put that on his forearm, which is nice, because basically the way the Transformers are, and actually I don't mind, they don't carry weapons so much anymore. A few of them kind of do, but they just have them kind of built in, which is part of the Bayformers thing. I didn't watch much after Beast Machine, so I don't know if they all started doing that, but at least in Bayformers, and I keep saying that because I want to separate that from regular Transformers, because I think Michael Bay's a bastard and I don't like him. Anyways, and I don't like his movies, and we hated what he did with Transformers, at least I did, and he's going to destroy Ninja Turtles as well, which might be a separate drunken rant for a separate time, but, you know, just do Michael Bay Ninja Turtles, and if you're a fan of the show from the 80s, you'll know what I mean. At any rate, going back to this, we've got that arm-mounted cannon, which transforms on its own. The one thing, and this is my biggest bitch about this figure, is that he only comes with one. In the show, whoops, he frequently has two. And what he does is he lifts up both of his arms when he's got both of his guns, and he goes pew, 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 and he shoots things. Oh my god, lasers, pew, 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 right? That's what he does. Except he can't really do that as well because he's only got one. Why didn't they just give him two? I don't care if they both can't stick on the vehicle mode. It would have been nice. But even still, 2 would have been excellent. Very, very disappointed in that. Usually I don't get too upset about accessories, but that totally pisses me off. Or maybe it's something else talking, but at any rate. Now, in terms of the character design itself, one of the things I think I've said before and other people have mentioned is that Transformers Prime really does mix a lot of the different elements of Transformers throughout the generations. So we've got kind of the CG from Beast Wars, which is excellent. We've got some of the Generation 1 stuff, like the way Optimus Prime looks and the fact that it's Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. And then we've got a little bit of the Michael Bay Transformers. And the really strong element of that is, of course, Bumblebee. He very much is reminiscent of his look from the Michael Bay movies. Which, when I first saw the designs for the show and I saw that Bumblebee looked like the Bumblebee from Bayformers, I was just about ready to write the show off. In fact, I think I did write the show off. I'm like, nope, screw that. It pisses me off. He talks in beeps and blips. He sounds a little bit like a drunken R2, which, you know, and his voice box was ripped out in Transformers Prime. I think what happened to him in the Michael Bay Transformers show. So they really stick to that, which, you know, I don't like the fact that it's part of Bayformers, but it works pretty well in the show. And you know what? It's acceptable. They changed it just enough to make it acceptable. Instead of talking in radio speak, he talks in his own language that only one other human can understand. I guess all the Transformers understand. But it's not too bad. Anyways, back to the figure. My general thoughts, it looks alright. It looks very similar to how it does on the show. The one blaster totally sucks. The articulation's not bad. The look is pretty good. If I had to give this figure a grade, and this is the second lesson in a row where I've nearly forgotten to do that, I would have to give this figure, you know what, a B. It looks pretty close, but I do have some issues with it. A lot of the joints are loose. The doors on the back here. This chest piece doesn't seem to stay in place, and if I'm transforming it wrong, please let me know, and so I can do that better. But you know what, and it seems petty, the thing that pisses me off the most is there's only one goddamn arm-mounted cannon. He should have 2. Now, apparently the Robots in Disguise figure has 2. I haven't bought it. Literally, I was at Walmart, or wherever the hell was I? Toys R Us, and I held up both of them, and I looked, and I went, nope, let's get the first edition, because I thought it looked better. But the Robots in Disguise had 2, so maybe I made a mistake. So anyways, I do have some gripes about Bumblebee. As I think I said, he gets a B. Ha ha ha. Because he looks pretty good, but there's just some real problems with him. Some of the joints are loose. I think I'm going to break his one shoulder, and the accessory bit totally pisses me off. So at any rate, don't worry about finding this one at Toys R Us. There are tons of them. I bought this one on sale. There'll be lots more of them on sale, so get it then. At any rate, I think that's our lesson on Transformers Prime Bumblebee. First edition, as opposed to second edition. Thank you very much, and class is dismissed.